All right, we're in the book of Hebrews, and I'm going to finish up on chapter 13 and verse 4. We talked about marriage last week. Gail, you weren't here, were you?
Yeah, I was.
You were here?
Yeah.
Oh, you just got back then, right? Yeah, you did, huh? See how noticeable you are to me? All right. I was going to say I preached about you, but I didn't. No. Can we all recite this together? Maybe your version's a little different, but it's okay. Chapter 13 of Hebrews, verse 4. Just the one verse. Marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled. But fornicators and adulterers, God will judge. So last week, we talked about marriage and let's say the responsibility towards marriage and how we can make it very rich. And so today I want us to look at two types of approach to relationship. One is the finding a wife for Isaac, and then we'll look at one other example, which is not good. In Genesis, turn to Genesis, and chapter 24, verse 1. Genesis 24:1. Now Abraham was old, well advanced in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. So Abraham said to his oldest servant of his house, who ruled over all that he had, "Please put your hand under my thigh, and I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell, but you shall go to my country and to my family and take a wife for my son Isaac." It is probably all parents' concern that our young children and growing children, and when they become adults, that they would choose wisely their lifetime mate. In these days, because of their proximity of where they were, they didn't want to take a wife for Isaac from the Canaanites, so they had to go back to relatives from Nahor. And so he sent his most trusted servant that was over all. So to have a good messenger and to have somebody who you trust to, let's say, find an appropriate person for you, Abraham really cared about this. There was a guy I knew, and many years ago, and he was not a very good guy. And I was building a house at that time, and we would stop at Circle K to get ice and sodas. And he began talking with and flirting with the cashier. And so, since we went in there all the time, they developed a rapport. And I told her, I said, "You don't want to get mixed up with him." Now, he's my friend, but I also know him. And I know what he's been through. And I know that he's still not well and not doing well. He's in recovery, a lot of relapses back to drugs. And so I told her privately, you need to be really, really careful there, because he has some problems. So it wasn't that I was trying to hurt my friend. I just wanted to protect this gal who we met. You know what's funny is, even though I admonished her, don't get involved with him, guess what she did? She got involved with him. And there was no future to it. Nothing good came out of it. But so who we are with is very, very important. And so he chose his best, oldest, wisest servant. And in verse 5, the servant said to him, "Perhaps the woman will not be willing to follow me to this land. Must I take your son," that is Isaac, "back to the land from which you came?" But Abraham said to him, "Beware that you do not take my son back there. The Lord God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my family, and who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, 'To your descendants I will give this land,' he will send his angel before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there." So it would seem that it'd be really good for Isaac to go back, and then he could check things out and meet the girl. But for some reason, Abraham did not want him to go back there. Abraham trusted that the God who called him out of that land would work on his son's behalf. Think about that. How much trust do we have in bringing people together? Not that we should be matchmakers, but we can indeed pray for people. We can pray that they will find someone good. But Abraham was certainly concerned about the lineage because he's a patriarch, and he wanted his posterity to do well. That's a great verse. "He will send his angel before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there." Verse 8, "And if the woman is not willing to follow you, then you are released from this oath. Only do not take my son back there." So the servant put his hand under his thigh of Abraham his master and swore to him concerning this matter. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and departed, for all his master's goods were in his hand. And he arose and went to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor, and he made his camels kneel down outside the city by a well of water at evening time, the time when the women would go out to draw water. Next, you'll see the servant is praying. He has an assignment from Abraham, his master, the patriarch. Abraham says that God will bless you and he will lead you appropriately. And I like the fact that the servant prays in accordance. And so he prays in verse 14. "Now let it be that the young woman to whom I say, 'Please let down your pitcher that I may drink,' and she says, 'Drink, and I will also give your camels a drink,' let her be the one you have appointed for your servant Isaac. And by this I will know that you have shown kindness to my master, Abraham." If you think about how specific this servant is, it's not like, well, I sure hope this works out, and I don't know how I'm going to determine who the right person is going to be and how you're going to bring me to this divine appointment and bring me together with this person. But he says a specific prayer, very, very specific. "If this happens, then I will know that this is her." Do we dare to say such a prayer? Are we the kind of people that can pray a prayer that is so specific? "God, if you want me to do this, then accomplish this in my sight." So then it says, now verse 15, "And it happened before he had finished speaking." I like that. God knows what we're asking for even before we speak it. "Before he had finished speaking, that behold, Rebekah, who was born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with her pitcher on her shoulder. Now the young woman was very beautiful to behold, a virgin, no man had known her. And she went down to the well, filled her pitcher, and came up." Excuse me. And the servant ran to meet her and said, "Please, let me drink a little water from your pitcher." So he doesn't say everything, he just says that. So she said, "Drink, my lord." Then she quickly let her pitcher down to her hand and gave him a drink. And when she had finished giving him a drink, she said, "I will draw water for your camels also until they have finished drinking." So he petitioned God with specificity, and God, the Lord, responded exactly in kind. Verse 20, then she quickly emptied her pitcher into the trough and went back to the well to draw water, and drew for all his camels. Now, just a little side note. You meet a perfect stranger, and that stranger asks for a drink from the pitcher. And you might just do that, but she went beyond. She's like a servant. She comes from a good family, but she's willing to serve even strangers. Amen. So we do want to be joined together with people who have a good heart, who have a servant's heart. They are not selfish. They regard and respect other people. I know a man who got married, and it was a miserable life for 10 years. His wife wouldn't do anything. She just demanded that he bring her food every night, and he had to do that all through their marriage because she wasn't going to do anything. And she didn't have any kind of physical ailments or impediments. So, verse 21, and the man, wondering at her, remained silent so as to know whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not. So it was when the camels had finished drinking that the man took a golden nose ring weighing half a shekel, 2 bracelets for her wrists weighing 10 shekels of gold, and said, "Whose daughter are you? Tell me, please, is there room in your father's house for us today?" So she said to him, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, Micah's son, whom she bore to Nahor." Moreover, she said to him, "We have both straw and feed, enough room to lodge." Then the servant worshipped. The man bowed down his head and worshipped the Lord, and said, "Blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his mercy and his truth towards my master. As for me, being on the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren." So the young woman ran and told her mother's household these things. Now Rebecca had a brother whose name was Laban, and Laban ran out to the man by the well. So it came to pass, when he saw the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrist, and when he heard the words of his sister Rebekah, saying, "Thus the man spoke to me," that he went to the man, and there he stood by the camels at the well, and he said, "Come in, O blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside? For I have prepared the house and the place for the camels." Then the man came to the house, and he unloaded his camels and provided straw and feed for the camels and the water to wash the feet and the feet of the men who were with him. Food was set before him to eat, but he says, "I will eat nothing until I have told about my errand." So he said, "I am Abram's servant. The Lord has blessed my master greatly, and he has become great and has given him flocks and herds, silver and gold, male and female servants, and camels and donkeys. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master when she was old, and to him he has given all that he has. Now my master made me swear," and I won't read all of that. Verse 42, "And this day I came to the well and said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, if you now prosper the way in which I go." And then he explained the fleece that he had put out there. It says in verse 45, "But when before I had finished speaking, there was Rebekah. Going down to verse 48, I bowed my head and worshiped the Lord and blessed the Lord of my master Abraham, who has led me in the way of truth to take the daughter of my master's brother for his son. Now if you will deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me. And if not, tell me that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, the thing comes from the Lord. We cannot speak to you either bad or good. Here is Rebekah before you. Take her and go and let her be your master's son's wife, as the Lord has spoken. It came to pass when Abraham's servant heard their words that he worshiped the Lord, bowing himself to the ground. It is a good thing when God brings people together in a good way, and it is worthy of worshiping. Then the servant brought out jewelry of silver, jewelry of gold, clothing, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious things to her brother and to her mother. And he and the men who were with him ate and drank and stayed all night. Then they arose in the morning, and he said, send me away to my master. But her brother and her mother says, let the young woman stay with us a few days, at least 10. It's hard to let go, isn't it? After that, she may go. But he said to them, do not hinder me, since the Lord has prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. So they said, we will call the young woman and ask her personally. Then they called Rebekah and said to her, will you go with this man? And she said, I will go. She's really walking into this blind, except for she sees probably the hand of God through this servant and how everything worked out. And although the family wanted her to wait, she says, I'm willing to go. So notice there's a willingness. So they sent away Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men, and they blessed Rebekah and said to her, our sister, may you become a mother of thousands of 10,000s, and may your descendants possess the gates of those who hate them. So Rebekah and her maids arose, and they rode on camels and followed the man. So the servant took Rebekah and departed. Now Isaac came from the way of Beer-lahai-roi, for he had dwelt in the south, and Isaac went out to meditate in the field in the evening, no doubt anticipating the time when the servant would return. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and there the camels were coming. Then Rebekah lifted her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from her camel, for she said to the servant, who is the man walking in the field to meet us? The servant said, it is my master. So she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all the things that he had done. Then Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and he took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. So Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Now, I don't see a big celebration. I don't know if there were any festivities that took place. I'm not sure. But all I know is that everything just worked out. It wasn't a strain. It wasn't a struggle. You could see the hand of God. All the parties could see the hand of God. And it all worked out. I would like us to turn to another episode, because the Bible talks about that marriage is honorable and all, and the bed undefiled. But in this case that I'm showing you in 2 Samuel chapter 13, we have someone who loved another person, but went about it in an inappropriate way. 2 Samuel chapter 13. Rebekah was lovely to behold. She was a virgin. No man had been with her. And now, sometime generations later, in David's family, we find this. 2 Samuel chapter 13, verse 1. After this, Absalom, the son of David, had a lovely sister. I have 7 sisters. And so sometimes when other guys have come with me and they've met my sisters, they say, "I like your sister." And, "Hi, how are you?" And wanting to get to know them, etc. So you can understand if you have a lovely sister, you would like to be protective of her because you know she's special. She's a virgin. She's a good young woman. So Absalom, the son of David, had a lovely sister whose name was Tamar. And Amnon, the son of David, loved her. Now here you have a stepbrother and stepsister, because David had different wives, and so Absalom was through one mother, and Amnon was through another. And it says Amnon, the son of David, loved her. No doubt he saw her beauty. There was attraction. There was desire. But there was also obsession. And this was not a pure agape love. It was moved and motivated by eros, or maybe the erotic side, because she was so beautiful. It says in verse 2, Amnon was so distressed over his sister. He loved her so much and desired her so much that it made him sick with desire. He became sick, for she was a virgin. Now it was improper for Amnon to do anything to her because there was the same father but different mothers. Now, we can say that in certain circumstances it could be allowed, but only if given permission. But Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shimeah, David's brother. So here's a relative, and when we get counsel, be careful who you get counsel from, because not all counsel is good or right or proper. And this person would say, "Hey, you're the king's son. It's like whatever you want, you should have." But it says of this person, now Jonadab was a very crafty man. Trickery. And he said to him, "Why are you," verse 4, "why are you, the king's son, becoming thinner day after day? Will you not tell me?" Amnon said to him, "I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister." So Jonadab said to him, "Lie down on your bed, pretend to be ill, and when your father comes to see you, say to him, 'Please let my sister Tamar come and give me food, and prepare the food in my sight, that I may see it and eat it from her hand.'" Then Amnon lay down and pretended to be ill, and when the king came to see him, Amnon said to the king, "Please let Tamar, my sister, come and make a couple of cakes for me in my sight, that I may eat from her hand." David was unaware he didn't discern anything. And so David sent home to Tamar, saying, "Now go to your brother Amnon's house. Prepare food for him." So Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house, and he was lying down. So she also felt it was a good thing to care for her half-brother. There was nothing in her heart or mind that was wrong or corrupt. Then she took flour and kneaded it, and made cakes in his sight, and baked the cakes. Verse 9, she took the pan and placed them out before him, but he refused to eat. Then Amnon said, "Have everyone go out from me." And they all went out from him. Then Amnon said to Tamar, "Bring the food into my bedroom, that I may eat from your hand." She's still willing to serve. And Tamar took the cake which she had made, brought them to Amnon her brother in the bedroom. Now when she had brought them to him to eat, he took hold of her and said to her, "Come lie with me, my sister." But she answered him, "No, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing should be done in Israel. Do not do this disgraceful thing." So you have one voice, Jonadab, saying, "Pretend to be sick, do this, have her come and feed you, and then you will be able." And then you hear Tamar's voice saying, "No, no, no, my brother, don't do this." And in verse 13, she talks about the ramifications upon her life if he did this. So she says, "And I, where could I take my shame? And as for you, you would be like one of the fools in Israel. Now therefore, please speak to the king, for he will not withhold me from you." Again, she's being accommodating, and she says, "Ask David. Ask him. Get permission from the king." She's wanting it to be appropriate and approved. I like what she says, "For he will not withhold me from you. He will do this for you." So he had a choice to wait, to ask the king, to get permission, and she would be willing to be with him with the king's permission. However, verse 14, he would not heed her voice, but being stronger than she, he forced her and lay with her. How different it is from Isaac when he received his wife, and the two were willing partners. He forced her and lay with her. But notice the change of events. You see, there's something about reciprocity in love. In other words, when we give love, when we are desirous and it's not returned in kind, or when we go outside of the bonds, the appropriate bonds of agreement, it causes love to turn into something else. You've heard that phrase, it's a thin line between what? Yeah, it's a song. It's a thin line between love and hate. You would think with such love, it would be really hard to move to hate the same person whom you have adored for probably years. Verse 15, then Amnon hated her exceedingly. You see, there's an inappropriateness for him to just take her and defile her when she is pleading. So that the hatred, verse 15, he hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred with which he hated her was greater than the love with which he had loved her. He absolutely loathes her. She's still the same beautiful person. She still has the same heart. She just spoke her mind in regard to appropriateness, and she pleaded with her brother, and he simply did what he did according to the flesh. And Amnon said to her, arise, be gone, get out of here. I don't think that's something you want to hear after being with somebody intimately and losing your virginity. I think those are hard, harsh words. Because there was a surrender of herself, of course, he being stronger. So she said to him, verse 16, no, indeed, this evil of sending me away is worse than the other that you did to me. It would be one thing if he took her and then he said, okay, let's try to make this right. Let's try to marry. Instead, he says, get away from me. She says, that's even worse. Worse than taking me. But he would not listen to her. Then he called his servants who attended him and said, here, put this woman. Notice how she's reduced. This woman out away from me, and bolt the door behind her. Now she had on a robe of many colors, for the king's virgins' daughters wore such apparel. And his servant put her out and bolted the door behind her. You can imagine the feelings that she has. I'm sure that's not what she anticipated in a relationship, in consummating a union. Tamar put ashes on her head and tore her robe of many colors that was on her, and laid her hand on her head and went away crying bitterly. And Absalom, her brother, said to her, has Amnon, your brother, been with you? But now hold your peace, my sister. He is your brother. Do not take this thing to heart. And this is the effect. So Tamar remained desolate in her brother Absalom's house. You see, in Israel, if you were seeking for a bride, you would want her to be a virgin, that she would have known no man. But after she being defiled even by her brother, she would be discarded or put aside. She would not be viable for marriage. But when King David heard of all these things, he was very angry. And Absalom spoke to his brother Amnon, neither good or bad. For Absalom hated Amnon because he forced his sister Tamar. So, the ripple effect was not good. The ripple effect being that now Amnon hated his sister, and now Tamar felt defiled, worthless, without hope for the future. David, the king, is angry. Absalom, Tamar's brother, is livid. And it would result in Amnon's death. Verse 23, it came to pass after 2 full years that Absalom had sheep shearers in Bel-Hazor, which is near Ephraim. So Absalom invited all the king's sons. Then Absalom came to the king and said, "Kindly note, your servant has sheep shearers. Please let the king and his servants go with your servant." But the king said to Absalom, "No, my son, let us not all go now, lest we put a burden on you." Then he urged him, but he would not go, and he blessed him. And then Absalom said, "Well, if not, please let my brother Amnon go with us." The king said to him, "Why should he go with you?" But Absalom urged him, so he let Amnon and all the king's sons go with him. Now Absalom commanded his servants, saying, "Watch now, when Amnon's heart is merry with wine, and when you say, 'Strike Amnon,' or when I say to you, 'Strike Amnon,' then kill him. Do not be afraid. Have I not commanded you? Be courageous and valiant." So the servants of Absalom did to Amnon as Absalom had commanded. Then all the king's sons arose, and each got on his mule and left. It came to pass while they were on the way that news came to David, saying, "Absalom has killed all the king's sons, and not one of them is left." So the king arose and tore his garments and lay on the ground, and all his servants stood by him with their clothes torn. Then Jonadab, the son of Shimea, David's brother, answered and said, "Let not my lord suppose they have killed all the young men, the king's sons, for only Amnon is dead. For by the command of Absalom, this has been determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar. Now therefore, do not let my lord the king take this to heart, to think that all the king's sons are dead, for only Amnon is dead." Then Absalom fled, and the young man who was keeping watch lifted up his eyes and looked, and there many people were coming on the road, the hillside behind him. I'm going to stop there. We'll go down to verse 37. But Absalom fled and went to Tamiah, the son of Ammihud, the king of Geshur, and David mourned for his son every day. So Absalom fled and went to Geshur and was there 3 years. And David longed to go to Absalom, for he had been comforted concerning Amnon, because he was dead. So it started as someone who loved another, like Tamar, but it was out of control. It was not governed by a heart of God. And so the ripple effect goes out and out and out and out. So young people around us, even old people, just remember this glorious thing that there can be a willingness when people come together, and as God says, the marriage is honorable in all. It's a glorious thing when people come together. Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but fornicators and adulterers God will judge. We live in a day that has brought on its liberties, has brought on its effects. We are saturated with eros. We are saturated with the corruption, so as to take away from the beauty of the marriage union. A lot of things that affect it. But when God looks down at a couple and they are together, God looks down with joy. God looks down with blessing. God looks down with approval and his wonderful, wonderful blessing. So it's good admonition for us to read and to think about. Pray for our people, pray for our young people, right? That God would lead them in the right way. And that whatever union takes place, whether young or old, it will be a good union, blessed by the Lord. Let's pray. Lord, beauty is a wonderful thing. But beauty and attraction alone are not enough. You desire something deeper, something meaningful, something spiritual, something pure, based in love, agape love, where people are joined together in sincerity and families can look on and rejoice with the new couple. And that there would not be defiling and disgust and hatred, all those feelings which would lead to something murderous. Lord, I pray for our families, our couples, those who are yet to be brought together. What a beautiful thing to lay this in the hands of God. To just trust that the Lord would prosper and bring people together in a good and right way. Thank you, Lord, for your word. Help us, bless us, keep us, and do watch over Barrett, Lord God. Bring good. Bring your glory, your help, and your healing. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, we are dismissed.